Hello everybody. I have just recently gotten back from my trip to Indiana University, to the Kinsey Institute, their symposium on recent research done in the field of human sexuality. It wasn't at all what I was expecting, and yet I got so much from it in a completely different way than I had thought I would. It's really, it's solidified the fact that while I respect research and I find it fascinating reading it, I don't want to do it myself more than I have to. And so I really don't want to go for a PhD, which I had known to begin with, but it really solidified that. I really want just a PsyD, which focuses on actually being a therapist and actually being a counselor, which a PhD in psychology really does not do, which is frightening because most psychologists out there hold a PhD and they have so little experience in school, not in the real world, but so little preparation in school. But anyway, you know, there seems to be, I've really noticed there seems to be this huge disconnect between researchers and practitioners. And that's really sad because I think there should be a huge amount of respect there on both people's part. You know, I'm so glad there's people out there doing research because I don't want to. I want to read what they're doing. They can devote their lives to it. I want to read about it. And as a result, they don't want to be, you know, they don't really have a thing for being a counselor. But I feel like they really lack respect for those of us who are applying their research to the real world. At least I kind of noticed that when I was there. But just, you know, I can't say that without mentioning that the people I did meet, the students I met, were just incredibly nice. I was just talking to them was worth the price of going up there, which turned out to be more than I expected. But just talking to people who are in doctoral programs and who've, you know, been where I am, and just their practical advice. And even at lunch we got to talk one day about just how to, you know, manage a relationship at the same time that you're a student in a graduate program. Just stuff like that that I never could have gotten any other way. Now the actual meetings, there were a few interesting ones. Hopefully some stuff I can share with you guys. I brought back all the research that they had there, and some of it I just was incredibly fascinated by, but not as many things as I thought I would find. A lot of it was rather dry to me, but there were a few gems in there that I'm so excited to share with you guys in future episodes of Advanced Sex Ed. Just so, actually I'm going to do one on homosexuality, and just had some really good information. There was a lot of research presented at this symposium on that. So that's really cool. I feel like I'm finally a little more ready to do an episode on that. So yeah, that's how my trip went. I'm about to go, I leave tomorrow for the cruise. So, you know, one thing I was going to mention, my cat's crawling up here. Want to say hi real quick? Say hi. One thing I was going to mention is that one thing I was incredibly disappointed by, there's two things I was really disappointed by at the symposium I went to. One was just that there were some professors or researchers who were incredibly rude, and to be in such a forward-thinking, progressive field as homosexuality, I was incredibly disappointed to see that some of those people were rude and not helpful. There were a lot that were, but there were too many that were rude. I expected more out of the people in that field. But again, a lot of people, especially the students, were just incredibly nice. The other thing that I was really disappointed by was the lack of research on sexual assault. While there was some presented, it was mainly sexual assault going on in foreign countries, which I think perpetuates this idea that while it happens, it doesn't happen where I live, it doesn't happen in my community, it's not going to happen to my child or my wife or, you know, my son or whatever. And the second thing is that there was, so even of that presented, it was very little. And I think that that is incredibly naive on the part of the experimenters. And I know here I am as an undergrad telling experimenters who've been in the field for decades that maybe they're being naive. And I know that that's very pompous of me. But that said, it is my opinion and people can take it for what it's worth. And that's it. Okay, if you take a random sampling of women and survey them on topics of sexuality, 1 in 3 of your sampling is going to be a survivor of sexual assault. And if you don't recognize that, and if you aren't paying attention to that, then your results aren't going to be completely valid, because that is a variable you are not accounting for. The most simple of studies are going to be affected by it, and certainly the most complex. You can't study anything about sexuality without taking into account that a huge percentage of the American population is a survivor of sexual assault. And it's just being among the researchers that I got to listen to, it's not being recognized. When I did get to talk to a few of them and told them that I was interested in studying sexual assault, I was interested in being an activist, I was interested in being a therapist for survivors of sexual assault, their eyes just kind of glazed over. My concerns seemed to fall on deaf ears. And, you know, I understand if they're not interested in the therapeutic side of psychology. I understand if they're not interested in the activist side. But as a researcher, again, I come back to the fact that without recognizing that such a huge part of your sample is a survivor of sexual assault, without recognizing that variable, you're skewing your results. Your results are not as valid as they could be. And again, I understand I'm just an undergraduate, and for me to criticize a PhD's work might be incredibly taboo. I'm not sure how much criticism they're willing to take, but you know, it's something I feel very, very strongly about. Another thing, and I know I'm gonna go on for a while. I'm on a rant, and so you guys that hate my long videos, I'm sorry, but I have a lot to say. Secondly, is the last night there was a really nice dinner. It was beautiful. It was really good food because I'm a vegetarian, and so they, you know, made me a vegetarian meal, so I was actually able to eat. And it was really good. At our table was sitting one of the professors that teaches there at Indiana University, and somehow YouTube came up because someone was saying you can only play on the internet for so long, and I said, oh no, you can play on the internet forever, or at least I can. And then I mentioned my YouTube obsession, etc., etc. And this professor mentioned to me, that I should be careful of what I'm putting out there on the internet if I want to get into a grad school one day. That what I'm putting out there in my sex ed videos, in my vlogs, could play against me in a university's decision to accept me or reject me. And for a second, I felt like I'd been hit by a train. I just felt like, oh my gosh, you're right. I have completely now ruined my chances of ever getting into grad school or ever getting a good job, because people are going to go online. They're going to see that I talked about sex. Oh my gosh, I've totally screwed myself over. And then I realized, you know what? I stand by every video I have ever put out there. And I understand that I'm only an undergrad, that I don't even have a bachelor's degree. I understand that sexuality is just something I'm interested in, not something I'm trained in. And I've never represented myself as having had more expertise than I do. And I hope that you guys realize that I'm not trying to say I'm an expert. I'm not trying to say that I'm capable of answering the questions you guys send me in a therapeutic role, that I can't give you advice as anything other than your peer. So, you know what? If schools come on here on YouTube and they see my videos and they were to say, oh, you know, we don't want her because of those videos, then that's not a school I want. I hope that the kind of school I'm looking for would be able to come on here, if they did, you know, if they went so far as to search YouTube for me, that if they were to come on here and be like, wow, she shows in every area of her life a real passion for this field and a real desire to pursue further knowledge. So, yeah. Even though I had a moment there that went like, oh my god, I've totally screwed myself over, it quickly passed, because I do stand by everything I've said in these videos. And I hope that, you know, I hope that all my viewers out there agree that my videos are something that are of quality, and that I'm not misrepresenting myself ever. So, okay, I'm rattling on. Anything else? I've got to pack. Well, I've packed mostly. I just gotta have to finish packing for this this cruise. I'm so excited, except I'm stressed, and I hate that. I hate how we stress just to de-stress. Like vacations, and like sometimes people come back more exhausted than before. That better not happen. I mean, it won't happen. I'm pretty good at just being laid back and not worrying about rushing or anything like that. So, all of you guys sent me messages. I got to about half of them. There were so many. And I'm sure there's going to be even more when I get back from this cruise. But keep them coming. I'll eventually get to them all, I promise. And if you guys have made it this far into this video, 14-15 minutes, thank you for watching all. Thank you for hearing me rant. And if you are in the field of research, or if you're not, you know, give me your thoughts on my take on sexual assault and whether or not it's going to skew sex research if people don't account for the fact that a huge portion of their sample size is going to be a survivor of sexual assault. Let me know what you guys think about that, because it's just, it's a huge criticism. It's an enormous criticism to say that the majority of sex research out there is not as valid as it could be. That's a huge statement to make, and I understand how big of a statement that is. But it's one that's nagging me. It's there in my mind, and it's forming more and more. So let me know what you guys think, and hey, I promise you can look forward to a lot of really good material coming up here this summer, from a lot of the stuff I learned at that conference. Because while I do have my criticisms, it was really enjoyable, and I really did learn a lot in many different ways. So I'm glad they had me. I'm glad I went. I'm glad I got to meet the people I did. So anyway, and all of you guys on YouTube, I missed you while I was gone for a few days. I'm going to miss you even more this next weekend, or this next week. So leave me messages, comments, video responses. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.